Can we trust Huawei? The question everybody's asking these days about China is, can we trust this company called Huawei? A story that suddenly popped up everywhere in the news. I mean, what is this all about, and where did this worry start? It was really everywhere in the news the last year about China being the #1 national security risk to the world. They were spying on everyone. We shouldn't get them into our countries, into our telecommunication infrastructure. What does it all mean? Well, if you go back 4 years ago, what you see is that 4 years ago in the media, everybody was talking about Huawei as the #1 knockoff of Apple, the iPhone. It was a cheap copycat of Apple. 4 years later, suddenly this company is the biggest national security risk in the world. What happened? Did we miss that memo somewhere? I mean, how can a company go in 4 years from a copycat to the most scary company on this planet? Of course it didn't. Huawei innovated for over a decade, almost 2 decades now, and we just didn't want to notice it. We didn't want to see it. The West didn't want to look at the innovation that came out of China. But now we have to, because it's actually becoming a real question on the political agenda everywhere. So the question is, can we trust Huawei? And it's not so much whether we can trust Huawei, it's more about the fact that Huawei is not just the best in 5G technology, which we now know all about today, but it's more the fact that they own the whole supply chain. They own everything from the handsets, the infrastructure, the core network, the optical fiber, everything in 5G they own. And not just in one industry, but in every industry, in medical, in airports, in security, in automotive, in every place. And so the fact that this one company owns this whole supply chain in all industries, that is scary. Because in America, we don't have that. There's very few infrastructure suppliers, if any. Cisco is the only name doing part of it. In Europe, we have Nokia, we have Ericsson, but still, they don't have this whole supply chain. And 20% of all the patents in 5G, the new technology of telecommunication, is all owned by this one company, Huawei. So yes, we do have reasons to be worried. We have reasons to be worried because they are so innovative, because they've been spending billions and billions on innovation. And so it has become a geopolitical fight. Now, if you ask Huawei what they think about it, of course gets a very difficult or different answer. This is all to do with what the founder Ren Zhengfei calls a witch hunt. He says America and the West is against his company because they're not strong enough to compete in the markets. That's his story. And then just less than 2 years ago, his daughter got imprisoned in Canada. So imagine the CFO of Huawei, his daughter, getting imprisoned. I mean, he takes it very personal. I mean, who wouldn't? If your daughter would get put in prison, you would take it personally, wouldn't you? So he feels that this is aimed at his company directly. But the last year, they got banned from getting equipment, getting chips, getting software from the US because of this national security risk. And so Huawei stands alone. They feel that everything is against them. And this actually creates a new sense of independence and a new sense of wanting to become even bigger. And we've banned them from chips, but despite the fact that we've done it, they're still growing. We've banned them from Android and they're still growing. How's that possible? So this is really a question of innovation and worry. And so Huawei in 2012 actually predicted this could happen. And so what they did back then was to create some kind of an independence of the West by creating their own supply chain. That's why they have so much. Not just the applications, they have the hardware, they have the infrastructure, they have everything on every level. And they created that independence because they knew this could happen. In 2018, Huawei spent $14.3 billion US dollars into R&D. More than Intel, more than Cisco, more than Apple, more than Ericsson and Nokia together. They have 80,000 engineers developing innovation, developing new products, developing 5G applications. It's that makes this company so strong. It's the fact that they're putting so much money into innovation. And they're even creating now an open source software platform to have millions of engineers in the world being able to develop applications to replace Android because Android is not available on their phones anymore. They are creating new independence of the world. And so should we trust Huawei is still a big question. But the real answer is, if we don't trust Huawei in some fashion, we're actually creating a giant of innovation that is going to roll out its products, not just in the West, but in everywhere in the world. And we're creating a party that is going to be very, very strong. Now, if you like this, do subscribe to my channel and you can hear many more stories about China.